And one of the things I'm going to point it at right now is this. We have been talking about getting a real boat. I say a real boat. We got a little 16-foot, you know, kind of a bass boat down there in the shed, and we got some kayaks. But when we sold the house, we said, well, if we're going to live on a lake, we ought to have a big boat. And of course, our neighbors have boats like this, big pontoon boats, and they go out on them. And man, we have some amazing parties, I guess you'd say, on the water, on the pontoon boats, and we wanted to get in on the action. So I started looking at this pontoon. Well, I started looking at boats in general, and the first boat I looked at was a deck boat, which meant it had a hull. It was aluminum. It was a nice boat. I liked it a lot. It had an old motor on it, and it was pretty dirty. So this is the boat that I'm looking at. And it does need to be cleaned up a lot, but there's no torn seats in it, and it looks like it's just dirty. The owner said he had someone put new interior in it 3 years ago, but it sat outside since then. So he is on his way. I love the trailer. I think got a awesome looking trailer on it. Other than that, it was a fabulous boat, an awesome trailer. And the guy wanted a bit more than I thought it was worth, but I couldn't really, you know, find anything else similar to it. So I decided I wasn't going to buy it if I couldn't ride on it, because the motor was like 20 years old. Well, we took it out on the lake and it wouldn't run good. It sputtered and spit, and he said he could get it fixed. And I kind of lost interest and I was looking at other boats anyway, and I ran across this one. And at first, you know, every pontoon I looked at either had an old motor or a really trashed interior. And I was thinking, well, I'll get a nice boat and then I can buy a motor. Well, that's a dumb way to approach buying a boat like this, because the most expensive part of this boat is the motor. You can't buy a 4-stroke, you know, motor of almost any horsepower right now because of this whole COVID and nothing's available. And even if you do, you're going to pay roughly about $1,000 for every 10 horsepower. So a 90 horse motor would cost you, well, now with inflation and everything, probably over $10,000. So it occurred to me that if I paid, and you can't get a cheap pontoon boat, hardly, or you can, but they're really trashed. And the other thing about pontoon boats is that part in the middle, that deck, is plywood, and that rots out. So you can get a pontoon boat with a rotted out deck and seats and cushions and everything tore up and an old motor, cheap. But then it's quite a job to tear a whole deck off one of them and put it back on. And I got to thinking, wouldn't it be neat if your deck didn't rot out? Well, I found this boat. It has an aluminum floor, an aluminum deck, so it doesn't have plywood, so there's nothing to rot out. So basically, and I got this trailer which has a hydraulic trailer brake setup, so that you don't have to worry about all that electronic stuff, you know, that you have to work with on some trailers. And I like that, and I think this one might need some work, but I still like it because, well, I understand hydraulic brakes, and I could literally go in there and rebuild that system because I know how. So there's that. In fact, I've got a hydraulic brakes in a bucket over here that came off another trailer that a YouTuber sent me probably, oh my gosh, 10, 11, 12 years ago. See that right there? Well, that's what that is. That's a hydraulic braking system for a trailer with the master cylinder inside it and all that stuff. So anyway, back to my story. So it occurred to me at a certain point that the motor was going to be the difficult part to find a good late model engine of substantial horsepower was going to be difficult to locate. And then it occurred to me, why not look for a boat with a late model engine, an aluminum floor, a good trailer, a trailer with a ladder, which this one has, which means you can walk out here and you can put your little hand right on this spot right here and put your foot on that spot right there, and you can walk right up onto this thing. This door opens, you can walk right up on the deck there. So I found this boat with a good trailer, with a ladder, dual axle, with brakes, aluminum floor. Let's go up under it. So you see that up under there? You see that aluminum? Well, it's got aluminum floors in it. And if you open those boxes, those storage boxes under those, a lot of times what you'll see in a regular pontoon boat is old rotted out plywood. Well, if you look under them, they look clean because there's not a bunch of deteriorating plywood inside them to go bad. Now, all of that was stuff I wanted. But the other thing I wanted, you know, as I said before, was a fairly decent motor. Well, I found this one. And this one has a 2018 Yamaha 90 horsepower 4-stroke engine. Now, this motor was probably one of the last motors that you could buy before COVID came along and slowed down the process of getting anything and made everything go through the roof as far as price-wise goes. And when you walk back here, this area is all clean and neat. A lot of times on a boat like this, there'll be so much junk up in there, but doesn't that look cool? And this motor, you turn the key, it starts up. It's completely silent. It's ridiculously smooth. And literally, I think that I bought the motor and got the boat for free, because what I paid for the boat is about what you'd expect to pay for a motor like that. And motors like that are highly in demand right now because you can't get them. And a lot of people are running around on these old 2-stroke motors that are super inefficient, noisy, vibrating, and using up a lot of fuel. And to have one that's quiet and new and dependable. Oh, I forgot to tell you, this motor's got 22 hours on it. 22 hours on it. Got that little automatic up and down thing on it. So here we are, the day after the redneck parade, and of course Bill's got some stuff he wants me to do to help him on his Studebaker too, so that's in the works. But I think what we're going to do today out here in the sunlight is I'm going to pull this. I moved it back here because it's kind of hard to back that trailer out, that hot rod trailer with a hot rod, with that boat sitting up there in the way. But I'm going to pull this back up here on level ground, and we're going to set the ladder up and get up on top of this and start handing over the, see, this is the roof for this boat. This is a top that, you know, you need if you're in the south, you need a top to keep the sun off you on those blistering hot days. And I've also got, this boat has a cover. You see these little notches, these little things here? Well, that cover fits this so that you can cover this whole boat up with a custom made cover to protect it all. Now the seats are pretty crappy, but you can find either someone to fix seats, or you can buy new seats from online. In fact, this boat came from Camping World, and they tell me that you can go to Camping World and buy anything on this boat right from there. So yeah. So if I'm gonna wind up working on Bill's car today, we're gonna climb up on this boat and hand all this stuff off. I loaded this in the rain, so all this stuff is gonna be wet. So we'll sit it out and let it dry out and see what we got, and start figuring out what we want to do. Another thing we're going to be doing one day when it's not windy and cold, which it is a little windy today and it's not real warm, but one day when it's not windy and cold, we'll take this over to the lake and put it in the lake and ride around a little bit. So where do I start? Well, first thing I need to do, or want to do, is get the rat rod out of the trailer, out of the garage, And I want to park that trailer down there behind those trees down in the woods out of sight. And then I want to get this up here on level ground. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do all that, and we'll take it from there. So, yeah. So that's my little story for this morning, and you guys get to watch. Now, I would love to whip this camera out and give you all an awesome video. But you know what? If I did that, I'd spend 2 days figuring out how to make the video or how to make it work, and I still hadn't mastered that. I got a lot of learning to do. It's a complicated camera. So for now, you'll get this, and then later, maybe, when I learn to use it better, you know, there's some really amazing things you can do with this little camera if you know how, and I don't. But that may be in the works. So I'll hush up now. It was nice to have this out yesterday. I really, really enjoyed. I got that ride video from me coming back, but man, I just felt elated to be driving this thing home last night. So I'll shut up now. Love y'all. Hope you have a good day, and you know what I say. If you're not having a good day, just get over it. Just get over it. Goodness gracious.